Welcome back. We are ACI Course 10, Class 7. It's September 22nd, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about karma and emptiness, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with that intention, turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer this to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of the Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. So Master Shantideva has been describing to us how we come to want to gather the goodness, to be able to clean out our past mistakes in order to gather the goodness, to grow our wisdom that helps us stop perpetuating those mistakes. And last class, he was describing how once we understand the connection of that process to the Bodhisattva's way of life, that we reach a point where we feel compelled to dedicate ourselves to that path, gathering goodness, cleaning out past mistakes, using the goodness to prevent new mistakes, purifying when we goof up, right? Gathering more goodness, it's that beautiful cycle. And then he says, and after we actually formally declare ourselves either to growing just the wish or formally declare ourselves to actually acting from that wish, that we want to do the take joy practice. We want to take joy in order to firm that imprint. And then they suggest, after we've made that formal declaration, that every day, actually multiple times a day, we remind ourselves that we declared ourselves on the path and take joy in it again, so that we're watering those seeds with remembering them and being happy about having them. Okay? It helps them grow in the direction of progress on our path. And then he gave us those 4 things that help us uplift our heart. And we had that verse that we can use to remind ourselves of that uplift. And then he told us 5 ways that that wish has the power to destroy the suffering of the world. Which always, when I hear that, I relate to, oh, that's how it's going to help others. And I forget that it's like, well, that's how it's going to help me too. Because just by trying to help others in those ways that I can't actually achieve until I have omniscience, but just trying to help in the little ways changes my own perception of me and my world and leads me to seeing less of those sufferings personally, experiencing less of them personally, which allows me to help others better reach the point where they themselves experience less of those sufferings personally. So by studying, by practicing, we become a valid authority to share with others. Once we're Buddha ourselves, and it's like, that still seems like a long way away. So do we not start helping others because we're not Buddha yet? Do we not try because we're not Buddha yet? No, we try because that's how we progress on our path to Buddha. And that's why we call it a path in the usual use of the term, a walking path to get from here to there. We have this path that we are on, that we can decide to be on if you're not formally on it yet, if you so choose. So now, we've heard him say before, why is it that we can't just turn on this wish for enlightenment, the full-on experience, just by hearing about it, just by thinking about it? Technically, we could. It would happen that way. We have obstacles to it. And we've been talking about doing things to clear those obstacles, of which our purification practice, right, is the main piece. And so we want to know, what is it that I'm really wanting to purify? But, I understand about these mental seeds and the things I've done. But don't I really need to know specifically what I'm trying to negate so that my antidote force gets it right? And so that my power of restraint can get it right? Because what if we're purifying something, I don't know, we saw ourselves do something that, I don't know, I can't think of a good example for this. So let's use our old example, yelling boss. there it is happening again. They're yelling at me. I didn't do the thing. I get mad. And I automatically yell back at them because in the past, I seem to have learned that if I say this kind of thing to them, it will shut them off, right? Normal human me has found that if I somehow criticize them or say, you keep blaming me, I'm going to leave and you need me on your team. And that makes them stop. So I try it again. And, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I've perpetuated the whole situation, right? And then I don't bother to look deeper and to find out, like, why am I reacting in a way that's like arrogant? If I put them down, they'll quit. If I show how important I am to the team, they'll quit being mean to me. Like, underneath the getting mad at them is this feeling disrespected. And I can work on purifying the level of the anger, getting mad. But if I don't work on the level of feeling disrespected, I won't know to look for where it is in my other life, outside of work life, for instance, maybe even inside, where I'm causing others to feel disrespected. If I think deeper about my automatic reaction to the boss and see, oh, I'm feeling disrespected, which is why I react in a way to try to disrespect them. And I look out in my other life, where am I disrespecting others? And stop it. And what is the opposite of respecting others like? And do more of that. Then theoretically, when I'm in a situation where boss is doing that thing again to me, I will better be able to recognize, no, this anger is deeper, feeling disrespected. How do I respond to that without perpetuating it? So there are mental afflictions within the mental afflictions. And when we actually find the deepest one and work on the deepest one, all the others that sort of float up from the deepest one will fall away. We can work on just the anger. We can work on the disrespect. We can work on the fear of rejection underneath the disrespect. We can work on whatever's underneath that. We'll find a core upset that probably is one that triggers all kinds of different surface emotions and reactions, right? A common one to our anger, to our, I don't know, laziness, to whatever else we habitually find ourselves doing that perpetuates the misunderstanding. And when we can find the one that's common to others and work on it, you see how, right, you target that mental affliction and our progress can speed up. But to be able to do that, we need to be able to recognize them. If, I don't know, if you're part of a group and you have a leader of the group and the group says, team, go out and get rid of the enemy, and out you go, and somebody goes, who's the enemy? Like, who are we fighting? And everybody goes, I don't know, what are you going to do? How effective can you be? We'd have to go back to the leader and say, what's the enemy? And then we can be an effective enemy destroyer. So Master Shantideva says the same thing about our mental afflictions. We cannot effectively conquer them. He uses these terms that are about battle and war. It's very violent. He says you can't conquer your enemy until you recognize them. And the better we recognize them and understand them, the more precisely can we do our battle with them. So, for instance, if you recognize that the enemy is a land army, you're not going to send your navy after the land army. You're going to send your land army after the land army, right? Because you can interact with them in the same way that if we're struggling with our anger, we want to send a precise antidote power to that enemy, our anger. Because ultimately emptiness is the antidote for everything. And in terms of effectively applying our power of restraint, we want to precisely identify the enemy so that we can avoid repeating it and do the opposite. So he's going to give us a strategy for how to do battle with our mental afflictions. And he'll eventually give us insight into why he does use this forceful, harsh analogy of doing battle with our mental afflictions at the end, because of how dangerous they are. Before we get there, we need to do the fine Gelukpa definitions and learn about these enemies so that we can recognize them. So here's our vocabulary. Okay. Nyomong, he say no, nyomong. Nyong is a hard word for me. Nyomong. In Tibetan, klesha in Sanskrit, which is kind of fun to say, klesha. It's the word for mental affliction. Klesha. And what we mean by mental affliction, wait, where are we here? Yeah, okay. Is something that bothers us. Something, a state of mind of distress or harass. These are all the synonyms for klesha or nyomo. In English, we say to somebody, stop bugging me. Like how, the bug keeps getting in your eye or up your nose. That, right? Get away. That it's a great word. It's a great connotation of this idea of what a nyomong is, what a klesha is. Something that disturbs us Mm. But when we think of the literal translation, mental affliction, it's not an English word that's in common use in language. You know, if you went to your group of Nam-Dharma friends and said, gosh, did you have a mental affliction today? They'd go, what are you what are you talking about? But if you ask them, did anything make you upset today? You know, they might say, yeah, the bus driver was rude. Right? The coffee was cold. I got up late, right? We would pick out these different things that had happened that we didn't like. Little things, big things that are just distressing in some way. Mm. Uh, here's the definition of what we mean by mental affliction. Semgyu ma shiwar jepe semjun. Semgyu ma shiwar jepe semjun. Semgyu is the word for our mind stream, right? The mind that's going moment by moment by moment. Our awareness, that which is clear and aware. Semgyu ma shiwar means mind stream no peace. Excuse me. Semjung at the end, semjung means a thought, that mental function thought. We had it before. Jepe means makes. Any thought that makes our mind not peace. Geshe translated it as a mental function which ruins our peace of mind, which implies that if we had no mental affliction, we would have peace of mind. That our baseline state should be peace of mind. Hua is another term for hey, I need a timeout here. Hold on. Okay, let's see if karma shifts. So Geshe says, to check if you're an arhat yet or not, you would just check to see if you have any thoughts that ruin your peace of mind. And it's like, well, that shows me how far from arhat I am, because I don't even know what they mean by peace of mind. It's like, what would that be like? To have no upset whatsoever. Can you even imagine it? Huh. It's good to do. To imagine going through a day at work just completely content, happy, peaceful, no matter what happens. It's not that, oh, the day goes so well. It's that you go so well. It doesn't matter what happens. None of it upsets you. Your responses are, right? I don't know, effortless, positive. They may or may not be any more effective than they were before, but you are unaffected. Not that you're a robot, right? But just so confident, at ease. How do you think that would affect the people around you? Like, first they might go, what happened to you, right? We expected you to be, right, hot under the collar, demanding, right, disrespectful, and all of a sudden you're just being really nice. Like, can we have something? Can we have what you're on? Please, we'd like some of that. It is possible. The only reason we're not that is because we have these mental afflictions. Like, it's kind of encouraging to think that our baseline could be happy. I mean, that's the whole promise of these teachings. What it is to reach nirvana is to have removed all these mental afflictions and seeds for more of them, so that there aren't even any lurking, waiting for just the right circumstance from which your anger, hurt, disappointment, blame would come out. They've all been damaged enough that they cannot get over that threshold to manifestation. That's what it is to reach nirvana. Nirvana is not a place, as we know. It's a state of mind that's directly experiencing ourselves and our experiences in a way through which we don't react ignorantly to them, which means we won't be mentally upset by them. Remember Diamond Cutter's Sutra King of Kalinka story? That was a horrible experience the guy has. His state of mind, nirvana, knew so directly that it was a result of his own past deeds getting purified that he loved the king more for cutting him up. Isn't that hard to imagine? Okay. So Master Shantideva reminds us that mental afflictions hurt us by making us unhappy. They ruin our day. And that's like their function. As if there's some part of us that wants to ruin our day every day. Not that there is something that's there, like saying, I'm going to make you miserable. But that habit of responding in ways that don't actually work. So it doesn't matter how long a mental affliction is being experienced. 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 lifetimes, we are upset. Right? By definition, we are upset. They go on to say that there's no virtuous, unhappy state of mind. except for regret, says Abhidharma Kosha. That sense of regret is unpleasant. It's unpleasant because it's admitting we did something that will come back to hurt us that we don't want. And for all other unhappy states of mind, the unhappy state of mind itself is a non-virtue. And so becomes an obstacle to our progress on the path. However, they say, to be upset about our mental affliction is a virtue. And that upset about our mental affliction is what they mean by regret. Remember the three guys in the bar, right? The third one just goes, oh man, I made a mistake, right? Just raw truth. I made a mistake. No judgment necessary. That attitude towards yelling back at the boss, oh man, I just made a mistake, is a virtue. But somebody asked Gyaltsum J, whose commentary we're reading, he says, somebody says, well, wait a minute, how can all attachment be a non-virtue? Don't we need to have attachment to our path, attachment to our bodhicitta? Right? Isn't that an attachment that is a mental affliction? That's a good thing. And Gyaltsum does say, yeah, yes, it's true that we want to be firmly attached to wanting to stop suffering, firmly attached to wanting to become a Buddha. And those attachments are not mental affliction obstacles, because when we reach our goal, we don't have those mental afflictions still hanging around, right? As we gain our realizations, the attachment to making the progress to that realization just naturally goes away. So they're making this distinction between some kind of attachments and other kinds of attachments. It'll come up later. When we say the only negative state of mind that's a virtue is regret, they're saying, well, what about attachment to our path? Attachment is a negative state of mind. We're going to hear it. And it's like, actually, it's ignorant attachment that is the negative state of mind. Wise attachment will keep us on our path, and that's not a non-virtue. Geshe Michael took it a little bit deeper. He said, when the situation and the mental affliction with it is happening, that's a karmic ripening. It's being burnt off. It's a result happening. So it is not a non-virtue to experience a mental affliction. Isn't that interesting? Actually, by experiencing it, we're burning it off, however long it lasts. So you could make the case that if I could experience a mental affliction ripening and not react badly to it, that experience would be a virtue, because I'm avoiding replanting a negative. Now that's dangerous because somebody could say, oh, so when somebody's abusing me, I should just stand there and let them do it. Because the longer they do it, the more bad seeds I burn off and the more goodness I generate. And dangerously, that is true. However, it means the person doing the beating is getting more and more and more negative seeds that are going to be growing, and they are hurting themselves worse than they are hurting you. And so your Bodhisattva heart says, no, I need to stop this situation to protect them and me. And I'm not willing to do it in a way that perpetuates more negativity. I have skillful means to get them to stop. Okay. The mental affliction experience is not a non-virtue. What we do in response to it is when the seed gets planted. How we act out of habit in response to that unpleasant situation is how we perpetuate the mental affliction. And that's the non-virtue, right? The action that we do. The willingness to be unkind in order to get a mental affliction to stop. In order to get the situation that appears to be causing the mental affliction to stop. Which is different. The situation causing the mental affliction and the mental affliction itself are two different aspects of the karma ripening. And so different aspects of what we do to antidote it. To not respond, to choose something different. So to be able to wisely choose something different, as I said before, we would want to be able to clearly recognize what mental affliction I'm actually experiencing at any given moment so that I can know what to do about it or what not to do about it. So we've learned there are 84,000 mental afflictions. If we had to address each one, these classes would go on a really, really long time. And the omniscient beings like see this pattern of here's the surface mental affliction, and underneath that can be that, and underneath that can be that. And so we're given the top 6 mental afflictions to work with. And then out of those top 6, one of them has 5 versions of it, actually more, but 5 main versions of it. So we end up with these 10 main mental afflictions that will get us started with working with our reactions to circumstances that we meet in life. Out of those 10 come all the others, the more subtleties. So knowing these 10 well, we'll better be able to recognize where we are and then look underneath deeper and deeper to be able to find that core piece that's triggering us. So here's the 6. Duchak, Kongtro, Nagyo, Marikpa, Tetsom, and Tawa. Tawa is the one that has 5 of its own. That makes the 10. So let's go through them. Duchak. It's commonly translated as desire, attachment. We heard it before. Have you had desire today? Have you had attachment today? And it seems like, no, I haven't had a craving. I haven't, met something that I wanted so badly. I inconvenienced myself or somebody else to go get it. I haven't had desire today. But have I had ignorant liking? Absolutely. From the instant my eyes open, oh, I'd like to stay in bed longer. Right? That's an ignorant liking. If I don't add to it, oh, my seed's ripening, still being tired. I regret having made somebody tired. Now I'd like to stay in bed longer. Duchak. Duchak has some aspect of wanting something and not wanting to lose it. All right, we can like things and really not care whether we get it or not, I guess. But then the Duchak has 2 other aspects. One is the ignorant component. We must misunderstand the object's nature. And what we mean by that, as you know, is that we believe the object's identity and those positive qualities that we want from it are in it. Right? That's what it means to misunderstand the object's nature. We're not misunderstanding thinking this object is a hairbrush when really it's a pen. It's not like that. It's seeing a pen and believing that I identified it as pen because of it being there. Its own identity, its own qualities. So if it's a pen in it from it, and it's my favorite pen, so it gives me pleasure to own it, to have it, to keep it. Because that pleasure that I get from it is from it. Then when somebody comes along, can I use your pen? Here, let me find you a different one. This one's my favorite pen. No, right? I won't share it because I don't trust you to take care of it or to get it back to me, or right? It's my pen. If I didn't have this connection that the pen's quality is in it, and have this connection that having and owning this pen makes me feel good, then even if it was my favorite pen and somebody asked if they could borrow it, sure. If I knew that the pleasure of favorite pens came from sharing favorite pens, I'd be happy to give it away when someone needed it. Doesn't mean we have to take our favorite thing and give it away in order to keep it. But the willingness to give it away when the circumstance is needed is this ramification of understanding that the pleasure I get from it is not from it. It's from having shared things with others, given them the pleasure of having what they need, having what they want. So that first aspect that makes liking, ignorant liking, a non-virtue, is this belief that the thing we like gives us the pleasure, which is why we like it, right? Second aspect is that willingness to do non-virtue in order to keep it, in order to get it and or keep it. Those two factors make up the ignorance in the duchak, ignorant liking. If I know the pleasure doesn't come from the pen, and I know that what I do to get or keep the pen is going to determine my future experience of pleasant or unpleasant, if I really knew that in the moment, I would be not just unwilling to do something unkind, I couldn't make myself do something unkind, right? Even if the impulse still came up. Like if I gave you a hammer and I said, hammer your toe, could you make yourself do it? Most of us couldn't. Don't we want a wisdom that about where pleasure comes from that's so strong that to say even to say or think something unkind would be like taking the hammer to our own big toe? That averse to it. That's where Master Shanti Deva is trying to help us to go. So this mental affliction of ignorant liking, to do battle with it, is not about reaching some point where we don't want anything. We don't want to like anything. It's not about not enjoying things at all. It's not about becoming a robot. It's about growing the wisdom of where pleasantness comes from so that we can grow that pleasant state of mind as our permanent address, says my friend Petra, our bodhicitta. Geshe-la always says, Buddhas like things. They dislike things. Buddhas like sentient beings. They dislike that there are sentient beings who still experience themselves suffering. Buddhas like their paradise. They like being in paradise. They want to perpetuate their paradise. Right? It's not that we don't like and dislike as our wisdom grows. What goes away is the misunderstanding part, the ignorance, right? The thinking, the identity, and the qualities are in it, from it. And so my experience of pleasure or displeasure are coming from it or them. Right? And as a result, thinking if they are doing something that's unpleasant, I should do anything I need to get them to stop. And if whatever's happening is pleasant, I can and should do whatever I need to get it to continue. Right? The misunderstanding, the two components of misunderstanding. How do we keep ourselves like tuned to those two wrong ideas being wrong? We keep reminding ourselves that a hurtful deed will, a hurtful deed cannot bring a pleasant result. And recalling that the deed we do in the moment does not ripen its result in the next moment. Which means when the boss is yelling and our strategy is, to threaten to quit if they don't stop yelling, I guess threatening to quit may or may not be a bad thing. Let's do it. Yelling back is how I get them to stop. And they do stop when I yell back. Our mind says, see, so yelling back must be a good thing because it made this unpleasant situation stop. That's mistaken. That's like saying, I put a flower seed in the ground this moment, and I get the plant with flowers in the next moment. Does that happen? No, because the seed requires additional factors for it to change from seed to result, right? A changing thing depends on additional factors. So what we do in the moment cannot be the cause of what happens next. And okay, I can kind of conceive that with the yelling boss, because sometimes I yell back and they get madder and yell louder. And sometimes I yell back and they stop yelling. And whichever works the most frequently is the one I'll keep doing. But what about when you put your hand on the doorknob and pull, the door opens? Come on. Isn't that what I do in the moment brings what comes next? It's something to think about. Technically not. That's not for this class. That's other classes. But when our mind goes, yeah, I see about the seed thing, there's a part of us that says, no, I don't actually see about the seed thing. Because all day long I do things and I get the result I want the next moment, which is reinforcing our misunderstanding. It would almost be better if when you put your hand on the doorknob and open it, the door didn't open. And when you put your key in the car and turned it, the car didn't start, right? And it would be almost better because it would get us off automatic pilot. But I don't know about you, but my reaction would be like, what's wrong with this door? Like, what's wrong with my car? I wouldn't go, oh, see, turning the doorknob does not open doors. I would automatically blame something else, not my karma. And so it's not, don't be thinking, oh, I hope bad things will happen so I'll wake up. Don't be thinking that. Geshe-la gave an example years ago. His team needed a new computer. They got on the internet and they found this really high-powered computer, very expensive, for only $1,000. And when it came, they saw that the serial number had been scratched off, which means it's stolen goods. And they like, oh my gosh, what do we do about this? It's a good karma to get an expensive computer for not much money. But do you keep stolen goods? You know, what happens karmically if they keep that stolen computer? They plant the seeds for not being able to get computers, expensive ones or not, in the future. And even if they can get computers, they'll need to be shared amongst many people. And it'll be hard to get your time on the computer, right? All these consequences of stealing. The getting the computer for little money, that was the result of some generosity in the past. The fact that it was stolen is the result of having sold stolen goods in the past. keeping the computer is planting the seed, right, of perpetuating the suffering. So apparently they called the company and the company said, get into the inside of the computer, the serial number's there too. It was there, not scratched off. They gave the serial number and they gave who they had bought it from. And I don't know whether they got to keep the computer or not. Like I assume that they did. But do you see, they made this conscious choice. Whereas without, I don't know, without thinking or on automatic human pilot, not bad people, we just would have said, well, I'm sorry for whoever it got stolen from. My good fortune, I have this computer, and we'd have gone on with it. Not realizing of the impact we've made on our own future by doing so. Okay, let's take our break. I am screen sharing. Stop and pause. Recording on, screen share on. There we go. So it is not wrong to like things. It is wrong. What makes it wrong is the willingness to be somehow unkind to get and keep them. And unkind means doing something that when somebody does that to you, you will not like it. Got it? So enjoy a nice dinner. Recall, this is a result of my past kindness. I will use it to enjoy, feed my body so that I can continue on my path and help everybody be able to enjoy meals, right? Enjoy life. Use your pleasures wisely. Next one, control. Control means anger, hatred, aversion. And again, if I asked you, did you have any hatred today? You know, I'm going to guess we're all going to go, no. Like, I don't hate things. But did I dislike something ignorantly? Yes, I already said it. I dislike getting out of bed at 4 in the morning. You are all worth it. But in the moment, it's like, I wish I could sleep some more. Control. The factors that make our dislike a non-virtue is the misunderstanding the object's nature and where it comes from, and so being willing to do a non-virtue to stop it, avoid it, get rid of it. The ignorance is not understanding the karma and emptiness, the marriage of karma and emptiness. And so we yell back, we lie, right? We lie, cheat, steal in order to avoid those bad things. Well, what? Should you just let bad things happen? No, that's wrong conclusion. When unpleasant things are happening, it seems to ignorance that to be kind in the face of unpleasantness will just bring more unpleasantness. Because probably that's been our experience. But it's been a mistaken experience all along. born of previous mistaken reactions to mistaken experiences. Again, when we understand the planting of a seed in our mind happens by way of what we think, say, and do towards other, and that those seeds that are planted take time and influence to bring a result, then to be unkind in the face of unkindness is going to bring future unkindness back, to which I will likely habitually react with more unkindness, thus perpetuating the situation. To react to an experience of to have an experience of unkindness happening to us happens when seeds of unkindness have been influenced by other unkindnesses sufficiently to get over the threshold into ripening them doing that to me, bigger than the one I did. When we understand that, we first choose to be unwilling to react with an unkindness to stop a displeasure. And it will go on to eventually the inability to be unkind in the face of a displeasure. Won't that be great when we get to that place where it won't even occur to us to yell back or to lie or to wiggle out of something, you know? But again, it does not mean, okay, so when you're in an unpleasant situation, don't do anything to stop it. No, we do want to do something to stop it. We want to do something to stop it wisely. You know, so suppose, terrible scenario. I don't know. You're being mugged. Actually, we had this situation at Debate Ground once. There was somebody at Diamond Mountain who was pretty integral to the construction happening at Diamond Mountain. And that person had a terrible anger problem, like rage, you know? And he was a strong person. So when his rage would get going, he was scary. He never hurt anybody, but, you know, it was always felt possible to me on the board, right? Who would be responsible, partly responsible for what happened. So we were at Debate Ground once, and Samati and he were debate partners. And I don't know, all of a sudden, he's yelling at David, like with this rage at David. You know, David's a big guy, this guy's small. And the rest of us were like shocked and speechless. And it was able to get diffused by the way David reacted, actually. And afterwards, I thought to myself, like in that moment that I was aware that there was this going on, why didn't I grab my chest and fall on the floor going, I'm having chest pain, right? It would have been a lie, but it would have created a distraction, right, for the whole thing. Because both of the guys, the raging one and the other, and everybody else would have turned their attention to me, and it would have stopped the whole situation. But I didn't think of it until the whole thing was done. But then I got to thinking, it would be helpful to have a skillful means plan, right? Where if I were ever in that situation again, of how might I create a distraction, right? Getting in the middle of the two, I would have just been part of it. I was too scared to do that, frankly. And it's not Bodhisattva to get in the middle of a fight. but to create some kind of distraction. Geshe Michael would often say, pull the fire alarm. That's a good one. That gets everybody's attention. Maybe it'll, cause a fee of some kind, but drop your purse, ladies. Stuff goes flying. That gets everybody's attention. For an old lady, I'm having a heart attack. That'll do it. But think, right? Plan some kind of distraction that we might use if we're ever in a situation where, right, there's some kind of negativity happening and we're wanting to be a distraction. But then what about if the negativity is happening to you, right? The angry boss is in your face. It changes the situation a bit. We can't quite get to the fire alarm or drop our purse necessarily. And still, our reaction to the situation is what's planting the seed. The situation is seed is result. Result. How we react creates new. So this ignorant liking piece is at first level, their anger is making me upset with my anger. It's coming from them. Mistake number one. To override their anger with my anger will work is mistake number two. They go hand in hand. So we work at it at that level if we can. Deeper down, there's them yelling at me. There's the feeling that comes up that I'm calling anger, hurt, blame, disrespect, right? Whatever it is. And we're believing that that feeling that I'm having is coming from them yelling at me. Technically, it's not, right? Technically, that feeling doesn't have to be anger, hurt, being disrespected. It's just a feeling. And we can even disconnect at that point and say, no need to react to that feeling with anger, disrespect, whatever, right? So that we can, by working at our own feeling level, learn to not react in the face of somebody yelling at us. We can't do that while they're yelling. We work at the level of transforming the feeling to the identity, anger, and the reaction after the fact. Work with where we're causing similar feelings in somebody else. And then we actually need the circumstance to happen again. Yelling boss, would you please yell at me? So that I can see how well my work with my feeling in reaction to you or yelling is working. Master Shantideva later, he's going to say, at some point we go looking for angry people because we want to see, like, would you get angry at me, please, so I can see how well it works? I mean, we don't actually say that, but we go looking for angry people and we won't be able to find them because we've damaged so many of our seeds. So then when we do get an angry yelling boss, right, after months and months and years of not having one, our reaction may be to jump up and hug them. Thank you so much, right, for showing me the progress I've made. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Contro. All right. Next one is Nagel. Gel is Gelpo. It means king. Na is me. Nagel means me king. It's the word for pride. Me king. When we get to Diamond Way, the same term, Nagyal, meet king, means meet angel. And it's dangerous because our meet angel isn't accurate until we've completely negated our me king. If we take me king and pretend me angel, our misunderstanding influences us in such a way that we decide me angel can't do anything wrong. But me king, right, wants to do everything for me, like owns everything, and me angel goes seriously wrong. So it's just interesting in the long run that they don't change the word from pride to divine pride. They use the same word. So there are many variations of ignorant pride, Nagyal. We can have pride in ourselves for qualities we don't even have. We can have pride in ourselves for qualities that we do have. The thing about the pride factor is that it results in us feeling that we are somehow better than others. So it's not confidence in our good qualities that's wrong. It's the implication that our mind holds is my good qualities are better than yours. And the result of that on gross and subtle levels is that we are willing to treat others badly, condescendingly, arrogantly, even simply with insufficient compassion, right? Without compassion. Because, right, I'm better. I'm better. And again, it's the arrogant component. These good qualities that I have are me, mine, in me. Versus understanding that if I see those good qualities in myself, they are ripening results of some way in which I helped others have good qualities, some way in which I used past good qualities to help others. When I think they are mine, right, in me, qualities of me that make me up, I think they're inherent in me. I think I can't lose them. My arrogant behavior towards others, gross or subtle, creates experiences for me in the future where others are arrogant towards me. So we can see that the seeds of pride can actually bring a future result, let's go in future lifetimes, of being in a position where we are disrespected by everybody. That's animal realm, technically. And even if we were to get human, we might be a human with some kind of disability, or a human without the mental capacity, right, to be in a position where others respect us. When we use our good qualities, when we hold them mistakenly and use them mistakenly, we're gonna lose them. It would be hard to say pride in this life necessarily leads to things like dementia in this life. But when we recognize that connection, we might see that past human lives that were prideful might be the causes that contribute to developing diseases such that we end up being in the position, where we're like at the bottom of the food chain at some point in terms of our capacity to take care of ourselves, our capacity, right, to interact with others. So again, self-confidence is a good thing. Pride is different than self-confidence. Pride has this component of comparing ourselves to others and finding ourselves on top. And as a result, right, imposing ourselves in some way on the other. The fact that we have the ability to think clearly, that we have our intellect, that's all the result of some morality. That's all the result of past morality. Our current morality is establishing the circumstances that will include our future ability to think clearly, ability to make choices. In the animal realm, they're on intuition, right? Not an instinct. They don't have the ability to make a moral choice to change their behavior. Even when we train a dog something new, right? That's a goodness for them, but it doesn't change their instinct. Humans have instinct, and we have more than instinct. So to recognize our good qualities that we do have are impermanent and results of morality. If we want to keep our intellect, right, keep those good qualities we seem to have, we want to use them morally, right? We want to use our me morally. And that's how Nagel turns to divine pride. Me king turns to me angel. Because we'll use our good qualities in ways that help others, not in ways that hurt others. Okay. I need to take another break. I need to go to the toilet. So hang on. I'm going to. Recording the Zoom screen share. All right, next one is marikpa. Marikpa is the word for ignorance. But here it's not the ignorance that we're talking about when we say we misunderstand the object's true nature. Here, in this context, marikpa means not knowing the laws of karma. Do you remember in the 10 non-virtues, wrong view is said to be not believing the laws of karma and not believing past and future lives, and so not believing that there are fully enlightened beings. This is that kind of marikpa, to not understand that our deeds have consequences, that what we do has consequences, and to not understand that the mind stream goes on when this body dies is a mental affliction. Now it's a ripening, right, of past misunderstandings, past beliefs. That itself, as we know, is a ripening result. That's not the mental affliction. But the mental affliction is that if we don't understand that our behavior will come back to us, then, there's no reason to choose any kind of morality. We would just do what we want in the face of pleasure and do what we want in the face of displeasure. Right? Our behavior would be totally selfishly driven. And that Marikpa, right, is probably amongst the most dangerous ones, although they don't have much to say about it. The fifth one is Tetsum. Here it is. Tetsum means doubt. Geshe always says lazy doubt. Doubt is a healthy thing. Buddha himself said, don't believe what I teach until you test it yourself. Cut it, burn it, rub it against our own experience to logically prove to ourselves what we think we heard the Buddha say. When we logically prove it to ourselves, we also logically show to ourselves that it would be beneficial to act on what we've shown ourselves to be true. When we take something on an authority figure, we can start acting on it, but we'll reach a point to where it'll be too hard. And we'll fall back on our own how we're perceiving it, and then make misguided choices. So right from the get-go, we're supposed to have this healthy skepticism about what we hear, what we study, and then go to the trouble to figure out whether that teaching, how that teaching can help us or not, whether it's valid for us, so that we'll act on it. So lazy doubt is to hear a teaching or come across a circumstance that we don't really quite understand well enough to use, and we set it aside and don't bother to check it out. And Geshe suggests that underneath lazy doubt is this component where we have some insight into that teaching, that the ramification of understanding the teaching well would be, I would need to change in a certain way. And underneath, we don't really want to make that change. And so we don't go to the trouble to prove to ourselves the truth of that teaching because we don't want to have to act on it. And he says that's the mental affliction in lazy doubt, is that we're avoiding something by not proving to ourselves. Meaning not understanding what we've heard well enough to act on it, right? To make the change. If we study these things and we're not willing to change ourselves, like what use? And then what seeds are we planting for future when we want to learn something new, we want to change ourselves, and we have the seeds of having received things that we could have used to change ourselves and we didn't. Okay? It'll get hard in the future, not necessarily this life future, but in the future, to get instructions through which we could in fact change. Right? When we're ready to change, we won't be able to do it. And I don't know, is anybody in that situation? I'm trying to change in these ways and I just can't seem to crack it. It's like, oh, maybe lifetimes of lazy doubt going on. Like without hearing about it, would it ever occur to us, why can't I break that habit? Would we ever come up with, oh my gosh, I had opportunities to prove something to myself and act on it and I didn't do it. One of the top 6 mental afflictions It would behoove us to figure out how we're doing it, because we must be, right? Not willing to prove something to ourselves clearly enough to change our behavior. Next one, Tawa. Tawa means worldview. Of Tawa, there's five main worldviews. The implication here is that they're mistaken worldviews. Jikta, Tarta, Lokta, Tawa Chunzin. This choke ends in is said Chunzin. And Sultrum Dong Solchuk Chunzin Kitawa. So of these, apparently, the most ubiquitous, meaning going on constantly, is this one, Jikta. Why does that thing turn blue? Jikta. Jik is the word for destroy. It's also a word for fear, I think. Jikta. Ta is the ta in Tawa. It means our viewpoint, meaning our belief system, our worldview. So Jikta means perishable view, or the destroy view. It has different levels of meaning. At the top, it means a worldview that focuses upon things that will eventually be destroyed, meaning we hold our me and our things and our experiences as things that will last. On some weird level, we think they are unchanging, even as we know they're changing. We don't relate to our things and our people and our experiences that are things that will be destroyed. If we knew, I don't know, we have our favorite work of art, right, that we've had it for a long time and we still enjoy it. If when we first got it, we knew, this thing's just going to get destroyed someday, would we even be so attached to it that we would have kept it and moved it, however many times you've moved in your life, right? Our attachments would be different to things if we really related to them as being as impermanent as they are. But it doesn't seem like human to relate to things as impermanent. But sooner or later, everything, everybody will be destroyed. The earth will be destroyed. Everything will be destroyed, not meaning it all goes into annihilation, because non-existence is impossible. But everything that we know, the way we know it, is being destroyed as we experience it, including our me, including our mind, me and mine, not mind, but mine, things that are mine, me and mine. The me and mine that we hold to be in them, from them, will eventually be destroyed, right? Me dies. My Sarani dies. Sarani's body dies. And when Sarani and the body dies, so does everything about Sarani. So the world as I know it will disappear when Sarani dies. The mind stream that knew itself as Sarani, that goes on, different class, different story. When we believe all those things exist independent of my own projection, first of all, we understand their impermanence better. But second of all, when we understand that, then our perishable view becomes the view that we have destroyed. So the other meaning of Jikta is the worldview that will be destroyed by wisdom. So the first meaning of jikta is the world that we have worldview about is being destroyed as we speak. The other meaning is jikta is our misunderstanding that world will destroy the wrong view that makes that world like that. If we did not have this wrong view, jikta, we would not have any other mental affliction. The belief that me and everything about my world has their own identities and qualities in them from them is the cause of every possible mental affliction we can experience. 84,000 of them. That doesn't seem like enough to me. Seems like we need like trillions of mental affliction. But apparently of those 84,000, we have trillions of moments of them. In developing the wisdom that destroys the jikta, transforms it technically, what we're doing is living more and more morally, more and more consciously choosing kindness over selfishness. That's how our wrong view, jikta, shifts to right view, correct view. Our mind stream living consciously, ethically, is the key factor that overrides the jikta, which is the cause of all mental afflictions. So we want to override our mental afflictions. Be consciously moral. What kind of moral? Avoid killing, protect life. Avoid stealing, protect, be safe around others' property. Take care of others' property like your own. Avoid sexual misconduct, honor others' partnerships. Right? You know the 10. Those 10. All their ramifications is the morality to live consciously, to override the misunderstanding that causes us to see our me and my world as in them, from them, that makes me react badly in the first place. The ability to be consciously aware of our morality is itself going to be a result of morality, right? So the spiral builds on itself. We have the goodness to get a class like this. So we have the goodness to start. If we haven't started, we all have started. Now we have the goodness to do it with greater awareness. Any good quality we see in ourselves has come from our own past pure behavior. So then we know if I want to keep my good qualities, I need to use them in ways that help people. All right. The last mental affliction that is lost before nirvana turns on is this subtle tendency to believe in me and mine as self-existent. For a bodhisattva, that's on 8th level bodhisattva. The subtle tendency to see things, me and mine, as self-existent. This wrong worldview, jikta, and the right worldview, not right, the wise worldview, knowledge, can't be in our mind at the same time because they are opposites. To believe things have their natures in them and to believe they're coming from my seeds, right, are opposites. Can't be both. So when we're perceiving things in the old way, and we can force ourselves to just negate it, no, that can't be right. They have to be coming from me because they change, because two people see them differently, because find your because. And we've negated some moments of the wrong view because it can't be happening. Every moment it is happening, we're replanting it. So every moment we try to negate it, we are negating it. We're growing our wisdom. Well before we've seen emptiness directly, we can be negating our wrong view, damaging those seeds, which will lead us to growing wisdom intellectually, which will lead us to more and more consciously moral on more subtle ways, which will lead us to the direct perception of emptiness, which will allow us then to stop perpetuating ignorance completely. Yeah, I got to get going here. Tarta means extreme view. Usually we hear the two extremes. Things exist the way they appear. And if we get a misguided teaching, we might run to the conclusion, well, if they don't exist in that way, they don't exist at all. Is how we hear this Tarta extreme view. But the connection between recognizing the misperception and the thinking things don't exist is a little more subtle. He says, Geshe explains that this extreme view, Tarta, really means the implication of the way ordinary beings think things exist. So we think things exist with their identities in them from them, independent of any other factor. In particular, highest worldview, things exist independent of my own mental projection of that. Of course, ignorant beings think that. Because who's ever heard of a mental projection of an image? You know, unless you're some philosophy major. Normal human beings never hear that. So if it's true that things exist independent of me, for me to be able to experience them, then it would have to be true that those things and me cannot change. Because to change means we need to depend on something to be changed. Or if we're doing the change, right, that thing depends on me to make the change in which I change. And the implication of being self-existent is that we can't change. And it's a long story because we say, no, I know I've changed. But there's still underneath that something that believes, no, there's still a me, an unchanging me, that's changing. And it's like, come on, you can't have it both ways. Are you unchanging or are you changing? So if we believe we are unchanging things, which their ignorance is saying we do, then it's inconsistent with experience for us to be able to affect anything else, and yet we do all day long. So when we have this contradiction in beliefs, this is this tarta, right? The conclusion we come to is this wrong view that, well, if I'm not a changing thing, I can't do anything. And if I do things, then I must be a changing thing. And if that's the case, I'm changing all the time. They're like nothing can work right at all. Nothing matters. Okay? If there's a me that's changing, and the me of last week did that bad thing, and the me of this week isn't the me of that week, then it doesn't matter, right? The me of last week doesn't affect the me of this week because I'm different. You see, so the same logic reaches a wrong conclusion. Doesn't matter what I do, because by the time I experience what I'm experiencing, I'm so different. Yeah, doesn't matter. That's the wrong view. Doesn't matter what I do. Lokta. Lokta means wrong view. Wrong view here means actively not believing in past and future lives and karma. So this one's a little different than the Marikpa up there, because this one is at some point we did believe in karma and emptiness and past and future lives. And somehow we've rethought that, applied our logic, our reasoning, and come to a different conclusion and rejected it. Right? That they call it ass backwards, lokta, wrong view. Fourth one is tawa chunzin. The chunzin means to believe it's highest, or to believe it's best, a worldview that we believe is best. But here it means when we have our own worldview, how we're holding to things, and we believe it, and nothing's happened to make us doubt it in any way, then there's no reason to check it. There's no reason not to live by it because we believe it. It's hard to describe. They say my worldview is the best worldview, but it's not a conscious thing we're doing. It's like before I started questioning, I had this belief system that the material world was the real world and there was nothing beyond that. And when you died, you died, and that was the end. And I grew up believing that, understanding that, and I was comfortable with that. Things seemed to work, but they didn't really work. And then I had that experience that proved to me that that was wrong. But until I had that experience, right, I wasn't questioning, wondering, right? My worldview was right. I never had the discussion with somebody that said my worldview is right. I just believed it and didn't question it. That's this view. This wrong view as a mental affliction is to not question. Then the last one, Sultram Dung Solshu Chunzingitawa. So Chunzingitawa is this belief that we have, that we believe in so strongly we don't even question it. Sultram Dung Solchuk means morality and asceticism as the best view, right? My view on morality and asceticism is the view that works. So it's like, well, haven't we been talking about morality and asceticism all along? That why is that a wrong view? And here it's meaning a mistaken morality and asceticism in the olden days, even before Buddha, that was believed that you could progress really swiftly on your spiritual path if you did intentional purifications, right? And you starved yourself, or you stood on one foot for 5 years, or you hung yourself from the tree upside down and meditated, right? All these asceticisms. Prince Siddhartha tried it out, right? And nearly died as a result until he heard the thing about tuning the strings right. It is believed that we need to purify to make progress on our path. That is true. But life will bring us sufficient unpleasantnesses that it's a wrong deed to intentionally harm ourselves. It's not a morality to intentionally harm ourselves in order to make progress on the path. And that's what this view is addressing, is that old belief that we should hurt ourselves to make progress on the path. We will get enough purification through our seeds ripening that we don't need to add to it. To add the seeds of hurting oneself, right, is going to bring perpetuating that belief, perpetuating being hurt, perpetuating hurting others and being hurt. So no need. Our body is our vehicle for reaching enlightenment. We need to take care of it properly. All right, so these mental afflictions are the only real enemy to humankind. All those other enemies, communism, fascism, terrorism, earth changes, weather changes, none of that are the enemies. They are all driven by the enemies, these mental afflictions. So our mental afflictions are the cause of all suffering. They are the enemy that ruin our peace of mind. All stress, bad habits, bad days, any nasty thing comes from our own past mental afflictions and how we react from them. Our conventional enemies will eventually die. Don't waste your time fighting them. Struggle with our mental afflictions through our own behavior. He says, don't make friends with your mental afflictions. They will pretend to be your friend, and they will come back and stab you in the back. Don't trust them for an instant. We can make friends with mortal enemies, but not with mental afflictions. A warrior doesn't stop from a little flesh wound either, right? If our mental affliction comes out fighting and hurts us in some way, a Bodhisattva warrior gets more fierce against it, as opposed to, you cut your finger and you pass out in a dead faint. So yes, we will be struggling with our mental afflictions, and yes, they will get the upper hand sometime. And when it's all over, we sit down, we do our 4 powers of purification, and we get back on the warrior course and go at that mental affliction more strongly. How do we fight them? Okay, I'm at 7 a.m. May I have 5 more minutes, please? If you need to go, go. You'll have it on the recording. How do we struggle? First of all, we recognize that we already put up with all kinds of unpleasantnesses in order to just be a normal human. Like Geshe says, we put up with so much crap to go to our jobs and get a paycheck. That to say, oh, working with my mental afflictions is too hard because they're too painful. It's like, no excuse. We already do it. We call it life. Decide, I will not wimp out. How do we fight them? First, we identify them. Identify your personal favorite, right? Nobody has a favorite mental affliction, but meaning the one that comes up most often, or the one that we're most convinced is right to react to in the way that I do, right? Find the one you want to work on. Let's put it that way. Identify it clearly. Then actually seek it out. Go looking for all those moments of the feeling disrespected that makes us react badly. And when we find it, destroy it. How do we destroy it? With our knowledge. Oh, this is ripening result. Great, burn it off. What's the opposite? Admire somebody. Oh, that lady's, the color she's wearing, it looks really good on her. Just say it to yourself as your antidote. Dedicate it, right? May I finally destroy this enemy. Be on the lookout for it coming back again. Another moment of disrespect. Ah, my seed's ripening, hooray. Who can I admire? Like that. As quickly as possible. Our main tool is understanding emptiness and karma. The last thing on your homework says, how is it that mental afflictions hurt us? So in general, they leave us powerless, meaning we react so automatically to them that we perpetuate them before we realize we've even done it. We're powerless. Number two, they send us to unthinkable suffering, meaning their karmic consequences. Third, the time they harm us is indefinite, meaning they've been harming us since beginningless time, and they will continue to do so in beginningless time as long as we allow it. And then last one, making friends with our mental afflictions is itself a mental affliction because it allows their karma to grow. So our task, right, is to become this warrior against our own mental affliction. We'll go through a phase where we can recognize other people's mental afflictions better than we can recognize our own. And we might think, oh, I'm a Bodhisattva. I should go work on their mental affliction. Point it out to them. Tell them what they need to do. How do you think that's going to go over? Right. Unless you want people doing that for you, to you, unasked, don't do it to anybody else. Right? A bodhisattva is not on the warrior path of others' mental afflictions. We are on the warrior path against our own. Yeah. If they seem to be having a mental affliction, step in and try to help in some way, worldly way, from your own wisdom. It's an opportunity, but we work on our own. Make a list of things you regret that you want to purify. Start working on them, one by one. Look at the karmic correlations. Think about the situations that bring up that mental affliction and think about where those come from. What do I need to avoid? What do I need to do as the antidote? Have it planned out. Then step into life and be on the alert for the mental affliction or the situation that's likely to bring up the mental affliction. You know, and have your warrior sword ready, your wisdom, to go to the feeling, the reaction that wants to come up from the feeling from the situation. It's amazingly fun when we're getting it right, because the judgment all drops away and it's like, wow, this is my project. Right? Make yourself the project and go for it. Okay, 6 extra minutes. Thank you very much. Remember that person that we wanted to be able to help. We've learned a lot. This is an important encyclopedia class, right? Lots of information that we will use to help that other in that deep and ultimate way, by way of changing ourselves. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness and loving kindness. And may it be so. Hey, Jemmy.
Can I ask a question?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity.